Namo Adidapa. Thanks for joining me for a daily practice check-in. Listen, listen, listen. This wonderful sound calls us back to our true home. The first mindfulness training. Aware of the suffering caused by the destruction of life, I vow to cultivate compassion and learn ways to protect the lives of people, animals, plants, and minerals. I'm determined not to kill, not to let others kill, and not to condone any act of killing in the world, in my thinking or in my way of life. For our Dharma lesson, we've been reading More Than Mindfulness, Widening the Field of Practice by the Monastics of the Thai Forest Sangha. We're continuing a talk by Ajahn Jayasaro called The Paramis as Practices of Liberation. I would like to share with you an example of the beauty of dana that I experienced a few years ago in India. I was walking around Maharashtra in western India in a kind of a loop from the city of Aurangabad through Ajanta and Ellora. I would spend the nights amongst the hills which bordered the road. There were few mosquitoes and the weather was mild. I didn't need my umbrella or a mosquito net. I would just put down a ground sheet, cover myself with my robe, and sleep just as monks did in the Buddha's time. At dusk one evening, as I climbed up a hill looking for a suitable place to spend the night, I realized that I was being watched by a goat herder from a nearby village. I was concerned that, out of curiosity, he would follow me and try to engage me in conversation. But as night fell, all was quiet, and I sat on a large flat rock, meditating. It was perhaps around 9 p.m. that I heard something scrambling up the hillside. I was a little wary and shined my torch to see what it could be. Eventually a man appeared over the ridge. I saw that it was the goat herder. He climbed up the hill in the dark without a light, carrying a big bunch of bananas. He was afraid I was hungry. He'd probably worked a 10 or 12-hour day, and after dark, he'd walk from his village for a couple of kilometers and then climbed up the hill in the dark. The hill was covered in boulders, quite difficult to climb. He did all this to give me a bunch of bananas. I didn't speak the Marathi language, and it was quite difficult to explain to him that I don't eat in the evening, and that, grateful for his kindness as I was, I couldn't accept his gift. He was understandably disappointed. I felt bad for him, and he left. Then about another hour or two later, quite late at night, I heard more scrambling, someone climbing up this hill again. Who could it be so late at night? It was the same man, this time proudly carrying a blanket. I accepted the offering and made it clear that in the morning I would leave it for him to retrieve at the bottom of the hill. It was the kind of giving that you experience and know that you'll never forget. That man and his act of kindness will always stay with me. We have all acted kindly in the past, and if we bring the memory of a pure act of generosity to mind, even 5, 10, or 20 years afterwards, notice how bright and joyful it makes us feel. The Buddha referred to Arya Dana, noble treasures of the heart. Acts of generosity become noble treasures of the heart in that they never lose their value. They never become tarnished. Whenever you recall the memory of an act of generosity, your mind becomes bright and clear and happy. This uplift of the mind is what we call merit. Dana, the act of giving, is the fundamental means of making merit, but it's also an act of liberation. It is our first lesson in letting go. Learning how to let go of our attachment to possessions, to wealth, to money, creates a habit of letting go. It creates a habit of abandoning attachment, which we can build upon and develop internally. It comes to our aid when we come to deal with our relationship with the negative emotions which we have held on to for a very long time. May all beings be well. May all beings be happy. May all beings be at peace. Namo Adida Phat. Thanks so much for joining me today.